Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel. I'm Marie and this is my tutorial for the second piece in my Crochet Capsule Wardrobe, Luxe Cottagecore Spring Edition. And it's this adorable little off-the-shoulder top that I had so much fun making. The pattern on it matches the skirt that we made in our first piece together last week, but I mixed it up with that stripe of contrasting brighter neon pink next to the pale. And I love how it looks. It goes with absolutely everything. It's fantastic, and I'm so happy to share it with you all now. And I hope that you have fun making it. And this top it's a super quick makeup, and I think that just like last week's skirt, it would be suitable for the advanced beginner. You should already know how to single crochet and half double crochet, but I'll teach you everything else that you need to know. And this top is made very similar to last week's skirt too. So let's dive into the materials you'll need and let's get started. Looking at what we need, well, first is yarn. I used about 1/4 pound of a category 4, and you'll need a crochet hook too. I used one a little big for this size yarn, a 5.5, but it worked perfectly for the look I was going for this pattern. But you use any hook and yarn size that you have that matches and works for you. And obviously, like I talked about earlier, I used more than one color for this pattern. If you choose to do otherwise and use only one color like we did for the skirt, that will help the texture really show. But I love using complementary shades like this. Like of the 2 different shades of pink, it looks so cute to me. And kind of has a retro feel. Oh, I can't put my finger on why. And oh, look at the inside. Okay, so we have to get going. Let's just get started. We're going to make this shirt in 4 different easy stages. First, we're going to make up the body of the shirt, then each of the sleeves. Then we'll connect all 3. And then finally, make the little strip that goes around the top. This will all come together super quickly. And first, let's get started on the body of the shirt. So you're going to start by making a chain that can stretch around the widest part of your chest, around your back and around your breasts at their widest point. You can see me here very late at night with very messy hair attempting to demonstrate. You see my chain does not go around the widest part of my boobies yet. And it's made me very sad. Do not join in my sadness. Make your chain long enough to go around the widest part of your boobs. Then, once you get there, you're going to chain 1 as a turning chain, and we're ready to start working back down the chain we just made with a row of back loop single crochet. The back loop being always the furthest loop from your body. So you can see me go into the first back loop there after our turning chain, pull up a loop, and finish it like a regular single crochet. And let's do another one together. And again, noticing those back loops only there. We're going to go into the back loop only, pull up a loop, and then finish like a normal single crochet. And I'm just going to keep going down our chain like that, doing back loop, single crochet, all the way along until I get to the end. You do the same and we'll meet up there. Okay, and so now if you're like me, you're nearing the end of your row here. I'm just putting my last back loop single crochet in. And there we go. And so if you're like me, you should have just a long strip of these back loop single crochet now. And then what I like you to do is take out your hook. Don't cut your yarn or anything, but just make your loop kind of big so you can take it out without accidentally frogging yourself. And then you want to lay out your strip of single crochet on a flat surface like you're about to see me do here. And then once you have it laid out all nice and smooth, make sure there's no kinks or twists in it or anything. You're going to grab one end of it, excuse my light in the way here, and fold it over to the other end so that we can now join the ends of our strip of single crochet together, which we're going to do with a slip stitch. So you're going to see me straighten it out all here smooth. I'm making sure there's no kinks in mine either. And then you're going to see me put my hook back in. There we go, just like this. And I left my loop super big there. So I'm just going to get it back on my hook. Again, make sure I'm all nice and smooth. Pull my yarn tight. And then I'm going to join to my first single crochet in the row, the first one we made, with a slip stitch. And that's looking good. So now we've turned this into a big old loop of single crochet basically, which is perfect. And this is going to be the top of our bodice. And you can think of this row of single crochet we just did as the first row in the 6-row repeat that you're going to use to make up the body of this shirt. So congratulations, you have row 1 down already, and now we are ready to keep going. So you're going to start row 2 by chaining 1, and row 2 is going to be a row of back loop slip stitches. So starting with the stitch that you just came out of, go into the back loop only and pull through for a slip stitch. Good, and then go into your next stitch and do the same thing, a back loop slip stitch. And this is what you're going to do all the way around. Just keep putting back loop slip stitches in every stitch until you get to the end. And then meet me back here and we'll finish the round together. Okay, and welcome back. And you should be nearing the end of the row like I am here. I only have one real stitch left. So I'm going to work my last back loop slip stitch into it. And then what looks like a stitch ahead of me is actually from where I joined to end the previous round. And I don't want to join into my last turning chain either. I want to join into the top of my first slip stitch from this row. Here, right here. And I'm going to go into there now with a slip stitch. And oh, I do. I always make mine so tight. There we go, though. And row 2 is done. Awesome. Oh, and it's already starting to look a little cute there with the striping detail. And like I said, you now know row 2 in the 6-row repeat. That was a nice fast one too, and you're killing it. And we're ready to move on to row 3. Okay, we're going to start by chaining 1. And row 3 is another really simple row. It's all just back loop single crochet. So we're going to go into our first stitch that we just came out of, just in the back loop, with a single crochet. And then good into our next back loop with another single crochet. And then just keep going. Do this all the way around. And then meet me back here at the end so we can join and finish the round together. Good, so now you should be nearing the end of your row like me, having done back loop single crochet all the way along. And we're going to finish off our row like normal by joining into our first real single crochet there. But before we do, after this, row 3, we're going to row 4, which is that big bright pink puff stitch row. So I'm going to need to get my next color. So I'm going to put down my project here. I'm not going to cut my yarn or anything yet. And I'm going to grab my other yarn, my second color. And I'm going to make a slip knot with it. And then I'm not going to do anything with it yet. I'm just going to actually hold that slip knot on my finger, like my finger's my hook. I'm going to pick up my work again. And like I said, we're going to join into our first real single crochet here. So there, right there is where I'm going to join into to end my row with a slip stitch just like we have been. But instead of pulling up the color I have been using now for my slip stitch, I'm going to put that bright pink slip knot on my hook there. And I'm going to pull that through to both finish the row and get that new color worked into here. So now I can start my row 4 with that bright pink. But I mean, if you're using one color, just keep going like you have been. Just join to your first real single crochet of the row, like you just saw me do. And then you're ready like I am for row 4. And you're going to start by chaining 1. And row 4 is a puff stitch row, which don't worry if you've never made them before. I'm going to walk you through it here. They're super easy. And in fact, you start a puff stitch the exact same way you'd start a half double crochet. So to start, you're going to yarn over, and then in the first stitch we just came out of, you're going to go into the back loop and pull up a loop. So we're still only doing back loop work here. And you should have 3 loops on your hook at this point, like this. You're going to yarn over, go back into that same stitches back loop and pull up another loop. So you should have 5 loops on your hook at this point. and then yarn over again and go into that same stitch a third and final time, just the back loop, and pull up another loop. So now you should have 7 loops on your hook. You're going to yarn over and pull through all 7 of those loops. And that is your first puff stitch. And that's awesome. And now we're going to go to our next stitch's back loop and go with a back loop slip stitch to finish off the puff. Excellent. And that's what you're going to be doing this whole row is back loop puffs and back loop slip stitches. So let's do another one. Yarn over and go into the back loop of your next available stitch and pull up a loop for 3 loops on your hook. And then you're going to yarn over again and go back into that same stitch's back loop and pull up another one for 5 loops on your hook. And then yarn over again, go into the back loop of that same stitch and pull up another loop a final time for 7 loops on your hook. Then yarn over and pull through all 7 of those loops. Excellent! And now, like I said, always follow up by putting a back loop slip stitch in your next available stitch. So just keep doing that, doing your back loop puffs and back loop slip stitches all the way around until you get to the end, and then meet me back here and we'll finish the round together. Okay, so I'm just finishing my row 4, putting in my last of the back loop slip stitches. And now let's look at where we're going to join, because adding the new color, especially if you're a beginner, can make it a little confusing. Again, we want to avoid our color change and joining stitches there. And instead, we just want to join to the top of our first proper stitch in this row. So we're going to join into our first puff. But first, I'm going to go back to my pale pink here. So you can see me getting ready, getting a slip knot and getting it on my finger. To hang on my finger like before. Perfect. And then I'm going to find my first puff. It's right there. And I'm going to go in with a slip stitch. And then I'm going to grab that new slip knot for the pale pink and put it on my hook and pull it through the puff and the other loop on my hook for a slip stitch join. And great job, you've finished row 4 in the 6-row repeat, and we're ready to go to row 5. So you'll start by chaining 1, and row 5 is a combination of back loop slip stitches and single crochet. So we're going to be doing back loop slip stitches in every puff and single crochets in the gaps between the puffs. And it will become clear too once we get moving here. So I'm going to start by finding the top of my first stitch, that puff stitch that I just joined into, and I'm going to go into the back loop of it with a slip stitch. And then I'm going to avoid the top of my next stitch because I want to work into the gaps between the puffs. So I'm going to go into that gap there with a single crochet. Excellent. Then I'm going to find the top of my next puff, which is right there, and I'm going to go into that with a back loop slip stitch. And this is what I'm going to do all the way around. I'm going to keep putting single crochets in those gaps between the puffs. And putting back loop slip stitches in the tops of the puff stitches themselves. That's what it should look like as you get going. So keep doing that all the way around, and then I'll meet you at the end to join. Okay, so now I am nearing the end of my row. You can see there all the stitches I've done. I love it. I love the look of the light pink in between that neon pink there. And so now I'm ready to end, and I'm going to finish by joining into my first real stitch there, not that turning chain, right there. And I'm going to go in and work a slip stitch there to finish the round. And that is it for row 5, your second to last in the 6-row repeat. And we're ready to go on to your last row, row 6. And you're going to start by chaining 1. And then in the same stitch that you just came out of, you're going to work a back loop single crochet. Great. And now we're going to chain 2 and skip 2 stitches. And in the third stitch from where we're at, we're going to go in with another back loop single crochet. Fantastic. And this is what you're going to keep doing all the way around. You're going to single crochet, chain 2, skip 2, and then work another back loop single crochet. Just keep following this pattern all the way along until you get to the end. And then we'll meet up to join together to finish this, your last row in the 6-row repeat. So I'm nearing the end of my row now. You can see I only have one real stitch left. And I've just done a single crochet, so I'm just going to chain 1 this time because there is only 1 stitch left. I'm going to find my first proper stitch at the start of the row and slip stitch into that to finish off. Great, and that's row 6. That's your final row in the 6-row repeat done. And it's these 6 rows you're just going to keep doing over and over to build the length of the body of your shirt. And you can see here in this image, I've already done a couple of these 6-row repeats. It makes these beautiful little bands, these little texture bands. And if you keep doing it over and over, you'll end up with this beautiful texture pattern for your shirt. So just keep doing these same 6 rows over and over again until you get it to the length that you want. I did mine to a little bit before my belly button, just so I'd have room to finish everything else. And because we're about to move into warmer weather where I live here, so I didn't want too long or heavy feeling. But obviously you can make yours as long or as short as you want. So you just finished a row 6 with me. You're going to start again now with a row 1. Which you'll remember is just a row of back loop single crochet all the way around. But at the start, you worked it into that first long chain you made, the chain that went around your boobies to begin the shirt. But now, from now on, every time you work a row 1, you're going to be working it into your last row 6, which will look a little different. So let's jump into your next 6-row band together and start row 1 together here. Just this one, so you see how it looks. So you can see I just finished my last row 6 here. I'm going to chain 1 like normal. And then, again, row 1, which we're going to start right now, is always just back loop single crochet. But we have chain 2s all around our row 6, so we can't quite do it like we did before. And I'm going to go into the back loop of my first stitch here with a back loop single crochet, like normal. There it is. But then in the chain 2s, I'm not actually going to work into the chain 2s at all. I'm going to work around them in the gaps that those chain 2s made. And I'm going to go into the chain 2 gap ahead of me here now and work 1 single crochet, and because it's 2 chains, I'm going to work a second single crochet in that same gap as well. And this is what you're going to do for the rest of the row and for all your row 1s from now on. In every single crochet you encounter from your old row 6s, you're going to put a back loop single crochet, and around every chain 2 that you hit, in the gap that it creates, you're going to work 2 single crochet. 1 for each of the 2 chains. Do this now for all your row 1s, and then just keep going with your row 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 like normal. And again, once you get to row 6, you just start over again with row 1. And these 6 rows will work up for you really fast. So just focus on that, on doing these 6 rows over and over until you get the shirt the length that you like it. And then come back here and meet me, because then we can move on to the next stage together. Okay, so you should now have the shirt to the length that you want it. At this point, when I get here, what I like to do is after my last row 6, and you can see mine down here at the bottom, just because it looks a little unfinished to leave it like that to me, I'm going to go in with another row 1. So another row of back loop single crochet on top of our old single crochet. I'm putting 2 single crochet around those chain 2s. And once you have that done, then you are finished the body of your shirt. You can cut your yarn and start weaving your ends in. And we are ready to get started on the sleeves. And initially in my sketch, as you can tell, I meant for this to be a long sleeve shirt, but again, spring and summer are coming. I don't really need the added coverage and heat that it will bring. So I've changed my mind and I'm going to make it a short sleeve off the shoulder shirt now. But of course, you can make your sleeves any length you want. And either way, we're going to start by making a slip knot and getting that on our hook here. And our sleeves are going to be super simple to make because we're just going to make them the exact same way we made the bodice, the same 6-row repeat, just, on a smaller scale. So start by making a chain that can stretch around the widest part of your upper arm. Once you have it the right length that you can wrap it around your upper arm and it feels snug but not stretched, you're going to chain one to turn and start working back down your chain with back loop single crochet. Your row one, your first row one, just like you did to make your bodice. So just do your row one like normal, do back loop single crochet all the way down. When you get to the end, you'll have a little strip of single crochet that you are now going to fold over, just like we did with the bodice. Smooth out, make sure there's no kinks in it or twists. And then we're going to join the ends together, again, just like we did before. So make sure it's nice and smooth. Find your first stitch there, your first back loop single crochet, and go into it for a slip stitch join. Fantastic. So now you have the start of your little sleeve tube and row one is done. And you're just going to keep going like normal. You're going to chain one. Now do your row two of back loop slip stitches all the way around. Row three, same as normal too, starting with a chain one, and then you're going to do your back loop single crochet all the way around. Your row four is of course still a puff stitch row. Oh, and they look so bold in the little sleeve tube. Row 5, your back loop slip stitch and single crochet row. And row 6, your single crochet chain 2 skip 2 row. All 6 rows stay exactly the same for the sleeves. And if you're like me and you do decide you want shorter sleeves, then these will work up so fast. I, in the end, only ended up making 3 bands of the 6-row repeat for my sleeves. I think they look so cute. And of course, sleeves, since most of us have 2 arms, you will need to make a second one. So go ahead and make 2 identical sleeves, however long you want them to be, and then meet me back here. Okay, so I have just finished making the sleeves for my top there, and I'm so excited to keep going. I'm first going to stop though and weave in my tails and also take care of another little bit of business here. And I'd like you to follow along with me. So right now, here, I'll get these out of the way. If you look on the body of my top here, I have the oldest row on top and the newest row here, my row 1 worked into my last row 6 on the bottom. So now looking at the top of the shirt, I'm also going to make sure I have the seam right in the middle of the back because that's where I want it for this one. So you see my seam there? I have it positioned right in the middle of the back of my shirt. So I want you to lay yours out the same way. And then once you have, I would like you to make sure it's nice and smooth and flat. Then I would like you to pick it up and turn it so that the seam is on the farthest edge of one side. Okay, so now if you look, you can see my seam is on the very, very, very right-hand side to me. See that? Once you do that, I want you to smooth it out flat again and make sure it's not twisted or sitting weird or anything. And then I want you to find the opposite stitch to your seam on the other farthest extreme side. See, there's mine. And I'm going to literally pick up my crochet hook and stick a little bit of yarn in there as a stitch marker, just so I can remember that spot. And you do the same thing, okay? It's something we don't need quite yet, but it will help us later on. So there's mine. And now I'm going to turn the bodice again. And I'm going to turn it so it's back in its original position so that the seam is back in the middle of the back again. When we do that, the stitch we just marked should be right in the middle of the front, which is perfect. Get all nice and smooth again, like you see me doing. And then once you are all lined up nice, like you should be, you're going to find the extrememost edge again of one side, whichever side you like, because we're going to do it on both. You're going to find the farthest most stitch on the edge again here and put another piece of yarn in that and on the opposite side. So see, like mine here. And I have both sides done now. And as you can probably tell from me lining up the sleeves there beside it, those pink little yarn markers I made are, oh, look at all my tails. Those pink little yarn markers are there to help us when we attach our sleeves here in a second, which we're ready to do right now. Okay, so here we are ready to join our sleeves on. And I am back at our little workbench, and I have the shirt in front of me, as you can see. I have that center black stitch marker that marks the center of the front, and on either side there's those pink stitch marker yarn pieces that mark where we're going to put our sleeves. You can start on any side you like, but before we do, I'm going to go ahead and get my yarn ready, sort of like you saw me do when we were switching colors earlier here. Before I even grab my hook, I'm going to put my yarn on my finger with a slip knot. Next, I'm going to grab my shirt and starting with whatever side feels right here. I'm going to look at one of my side markers there, and I'm going to count 3 stitches behind it towards the back. So 1, 2, 3, and I'm going to put my hook in that 3rd stitch to hold it. Excellent. I'm going to set that down now and just leave it like that. That's perfect. And I'm going to pick up one of my sleeves, and let's just make sure we're looking at it at the right way here. So you can see there, my newest row of the sleeve is on the top right now, and I don't want that. See that row 1 and my last row 6? I want that on the bottom instead. So I'm going to turn this sleeve the other way around so that my oldest row, my first row single crochet there, is on the top. Now I'm going to find the seam. So I'm going to turn this around until the seam is facing me and is in the middle. Great, so now the seam is facing me. The oldest row is on the top. I'm going to find the 3rd stitch back from the seam, and I'm going to stick that on my crochet hook too. Fantastic, and that means that it's finally time for the slip knot to come into play. So we can put that on the hook now too. Pull it tight. And now I'm going to pull through my yarn, pull through both of those stitches like a slip stitch. Perfect. Now I'm going to chain 1 to secure it. All right, to begin joining this sleeve to this body properly. And we're going to be attaching the 2 together entirely through single crochet. So go now into the same stitch that you just joined on our side and on the sleeve side, see, like that, and pull through a loop, and then finish it like a normal single crochet, just like that. Now you're going to go into your next stitch in, moving closer to the stitch marker there, starting on the bodice. Go into your next available stitch on the bodice side and your next available stitch on the sleeve side. Yarn over and pull through both stitches. Then yarn over and pull through both loops for a single crochet again. Now we're only 1 away from our stitch marker. Go in on the body side and on the sleeve side. Yarn over and pull through both. Yarn over and pull through for a 3rd single crochet. And now we're at our stitch marker and our seam respectively. That's okay, just go into that stitch on the body side, find somewhere to wiggle in on the seam, on the sleeve, and then yarn over and pull through again. Get your 4th single crochet. Now find your next available stitch because we're going to keep going a little. Go into it on the body and on the sleeve. Yarn over, pull through, yarn over, pull through for your 5th stitch. Then go into your next available on your body and your sleeve for your 6th stitch. And now we're going to do just one more for a 7-stitch total. Go into your next available stitch on your body side and your next available stitch on your sleeve. Yarn over and pull through both, yarn over and pull through both again. And so now we have completed a total of 7 single crochet and joined our sleeve and our body together really securely. And you're ready to cut your yarn and go ahead and do that to the other sleeve too on the other side. Once you have that done and both sleeves are on the body of your shirt, come back here. And we only have a little bit left to do before we're finished all together. All right, so you should have both of your sleeves attached like mine here. And we're nearing the end. So just get the front of your shirt in front of you like I have mine here. And don't worry if the sleeve joins on the side look a little rough there. We're going to be covering them up in a second. It's time for us to finally address that black piece of yarn that's been acting as a stitch marker for us. I'm going to put my hook in it there and set things down so I can grab my hot pink yarn. That beautiful neon beauty. Look at that. And get that on my finger, ready to go. Then I'm going to get that yarn on my hook there and pull it through so I can start working. Excellent. Now I'm going to begin this top row by chaining 1. And then starting in the first stitch there, the same one I just joined into, I'm going to work a single crochet. No back loop or anything, just a full regular single crochet. Great, now the same in the next stitch, and the next, and all the way around. This entire row is just single crochet. Just keep doing single crochet all the way along like this. When you get to your sleeves, like here, I'll jump ahead a little bit there. So now you can see I'm almost to one of my sleeves, but it's super easy. I'm just going to work a single crochet into that last stitch before the sleeve joint. I'm going to work a single crochet into the seam itself we made with our join, just wherever you can find a spot that's easy. And then I'm going to work a single crochet on the next stitch after the join and just keep going. Do this all the way around the top of your top, and I'll meet you at the end of the row so we can finish together. Okay, so I've worked my way all the way around. I'm going to move my stitch marker up a stitch now, just so that I don't lose track of it. And now that I have that moved to my first stitch of the row here, I'm also going to slip stitch join into the first stitch of the row here to finish off. Awesome. And we're ready to start row 2. Okay, and beginning row 2, we're going to start it a little different than we have any other row in this project because we're not going to make a turning chain at all. Instead, you're going to go into your next available stitch with a slip stitch. Good. Now go into the stitch after that and work a single crochet. Excellent. Now in your next available stitch, work a half double crochet. Great. And now keep going with half double crochet in every other stitch all the way around the rest of the top until you have only 3 stitches left before you hit the stitch marker again. Then meet me back here after doing all those half doubles and we'll keep going together. Okay, so now I'm at the end of my row, except I have 3 left. So 3 left before I hit the end. And in my third before the end, I'm going to work just another half double, like I've been doing all the way around. Now, in my second from the end, I am going to work a single crochet. In my last stitch before the end, I'm going to go in with a slip stitch. And then I'm going to slip stitch to the first stitch to finish the round. Perfect, and that was your second to last row in this top. And we're ready to move on to the final one. And we're going to start your last row by chaining 3. Then you're going to skip 2 stitches, and in the third stitch from your hook, work a half double crochet. Great, now just keep doing half double crochet all the way around until you get to 4 stitches from your end. Then meet me back here again and we'll finish your last row together. Okay, so now I'm nearing the end of my row here, as you can see. And in your 4th stitch from the end, you're going to want to work a half double crochet, just like you have been, like normal. Then in your 3rd stitch from the chain that we did there at the start, from the beginning of your row, I want you to work another half double crochet. Great, and now we're going to make a chain 2, and we're going to slip stitch join to end our row by joining into not really where the stitch marker itself is, but into the first chain in the chain 3 we did at the beginning there. You see where I'm going in there? In that first of the chain 3 from the start of the row. That's where I'm slip stitch joining to. And you are ready to cut your yarn because nice moves, friend. You are finished. The top is done, and I hope you had so much fun making it. I love mine. Oh, I love it. I think in the end, I might end up putting a drawstring around the top, like hiding it around that top row or one of the middle rows there of half double crochet, just in case the neckline gets loose over time. But for now, it fits perfect. And I'm so happy to have it done. It's the perfect second piece in our crochet capsule wardrobe. And I can't wait to join you next week for the 3rd piece. And I'll let you guys know now too that a second crochet capsule wardrobe series will be starting on my channel soon, going alongside this one still. And keep an eye out later this week too, because I'll be debuting a completely new series on my channel, Crochet Wardrobe Skill Builders. These videos are not tutorials, but are instead meant to be skill building workshops almost. And so that you don't miss it, and so that you don't miss any of the other awesome things that we make together here. If you haven't already, please consider subscribing, and thank you for the love and support. This is a new channel and I really appreciate it. And hopefully I'll see you again soon, but either way, thank you again so much for being here today. Be safe, be happy, so with all my love, until next time, goodbye.